Hey, I'm Alex, back from Board Game Co, and today I'm doing a rapid-fire review of Echobound Adventures from Open Owl Studios. Rapid-fire reviews are a format on the channel where I attempt to give you a brief overview of the game, as well as my thoughts and opinions, all in 10 minutes or less. Sometimes I make it, sometimes I don't. Let's find out what today is going to be. But first, let's cut into those 10 minutes with 4 notes for you. I say Open Owl Studios, but this is Tempest Workshop built the game for Open Owl Studios. You can find out more about that on the campaign page. Number 2 is going to be, speaking of the campaign page, there's a campaign. I'll have a link to that down below. Go ahead and check that out to find out more information about the game. Number 3, which goes hand in hand with number 2, this is a prototype. Generally, if I'm covering a crowdfunding campaign, this is the prototype, all rules and components subject to change. And number 4, as much as this is a rapid fire review, it definitely leans more into that first impressions due to the nature of this game and how much content there would be in a final game versus how much content I have here. I have one location and one plot. In the final game, you're going to be mixing and matching plots and locations and having a degree of character progression, which I haven't had a chance to see all of that in this, so a more limited exposure to the game. With that, let's go ahead and give you a general overview over the game, as well as my thoughts and opinions. General overview. This is an adventure game. It's an adventure game where you're going to have your characters dropped off into whatever location they are in as they attempt to go ahead and solve whatever quest they need to solve before they can go ahead and extract. That's a big part of the game, is going to be extraction. The idea that this isn't really a game where you have the specific, here's exactly what you're trying to do. Rather, you have things that will give you these points and move you along the track and eventually allow you to extract as you kind of accomplish your goals. Don't think of it too linearly. Don't think of it as, I need to go ahead and go to this location and then do this thing and then I win or lose. That's not really how the game operates. Much more of an exploration game. You get dropped down to this world, you wander around, you interact with various events or have events occur, you open up this journal over here and flip through it and read the various texts, and then maybe you find various items that will help you unlock that zone. You're just basically trying to accomplish the goals set out while trying to avoid all the bad things that will slowly trigger and the enemies that will slowly confront you as you just step a little too closely into the territory. This is a game about exploration. It's a game about putting out new locations onto the board, having interactions with those various locations as you manage your resources and Moxies and go through an absolute ton of skill tests or combat skill tests in order to figure out whether you do or don't trip over that boulder or you do or don't fight against that wild boar before it takes you out with a spare tusk. There's a lot going on, but ultimately this is a game of exploring. It's a game about trying to figure out what's going on in this particular location you're in, proceeding through that location and interacting with it possibly differently as you explore it at different points in time. Meanwhile, you're doing that with these characters, these asymmetric characters over here that have different dice, that different degree of strengths of what they are better or worse at, different abilities that you can choose before the game begins, as well as a variable number of actions depending on the player count to try to spread out those actions so you can go ahead and accomplish your goals. At its core, Echobound Adventures is an adventure game. It's an exploration game with a degree of the game remembering your characters as you slowly build up and progress through it, while also combining the locations and plots to give you a unique adventure you dive into every single time, but with a world that is familiar as you dive into it. Which brings me to my thoughts and opinions, my rapid fire review, starting off with the first question I usually ask: am I keeping it? No, I don't think I am, which is interesting because at first I was very excited about this game. When I first, if you may have heard me talk about this game in previous videos because I had a chance to play this originally. I had a chance to play it on TTS, then the game came and I played it there, played it in person, and it was one that at first I really enjoyed the degree of exploration. I would say the combination of the balance it struck between the accessibility of an adventure game while giving you that sense of progress, that sense of change, that reason to take one more turn, to explore, to uncover one new location, to find that one item, to return back to that location and to solve that puzzle. It had that kind of charm to it, which is why it surprised me that I'm leaning more towards no after having explored it more, which I guess brings me to the why or why not. Because there's a lot of things this game does well. We'll come back to that in the counter opinion. Those are all the things that hooked me at first. But I'd say there's a few small things that, maybe 1 or 2 small things, then a bigger, I guess, aspect to the game. The small things are going to be the small areas, I guess, to minorly complain about. Things like the locations and plots. I feel the location matters a ton. Everything you're exploring is all of the locations. The plots didn't feel to matter super. So, I mean, they clearly matter. But as far as my feel of the adventure, and again, I only have this one plot, so I can't speak to what other things might change, but it didn't seem to impact things as much as I thought it might, so to speak. It's like more the location that I'm exploring, and the plots provides other things to be mindful of. Maybe they'll have plots that drastically change up the field experience, but I don't necessarily think that would be that. I'll also say the combat I did felt kind of weak. It's mostly handled very similarly to all the other tests you're going to make in doing the game, which meant that to me, combat didn't really feel like combat so much as just doing another test. It's just one more test. You're testing your intelligence, you're testing your agility, you're testing your strength, you're having a combat test while testing your strength. It didn't really feel like anything more than just another test to pass. Whether you're being attacked or attacking, it felt abstracted. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I guess for a game that has as many combat encounters as there are, and it's not primarily a combat game, but there certainly is going to be combat, it just didn't feel as combat-y as I would like. But I would say those are more minor complaints. For me, ultimately, I'd say that a game like this does require a bigger, larger hook for me as to what is it that I'm doing. And at first, I think that the open-ended nature of things did work well. It's something that worked very well for Seventh Continent, and this does so in a way that is much more easier to dive into, much more accessible, both in terms of rules, components, table sprawl, all those things. It's a much more accessible engine. But I think that while there is that sense of the world around you, the exploration that you're engaging with, I think that after having, I guess the difference between playing this game for half an hour versus 2 hours meant that I've kind of moved to, this is great, this is fun, I don't know if it has the level of hook that I need to justify putting it on my shelf when I have so many games already on my shelf. As far as other game recommendations, I mentioned one already, but Seventh Continent is one of the first games that comes to mind. This feels like it's trying to be a much more accessible Seventh Continent, and I think they did manage to hit that. But if you're interested in a game that has a lot more going for it, check out Seventh Continent. And if you're looking for a game that kind of merges the idea of different boxes to give you different experiences, I do feel this is also inspired by Cthulhu Death May Die, a game that gives you a scenario and a boss to give you a, well, totally different scenario each time, although I will say, also to be fair to this game over here, the Elder one you face off is not necessarily as impactful as a scenario, but they do provide their own different flavor to the experience that you're having. So if you're looking for that kind of mix and mash experience, Cthulhu Death May Die delivers that. As far as a counter opinion, I think it's the very things that attracted me to Echobound Adventures in the first place. The game gives you a fairly simple game to dive into as far as accessible exploration, gameplay that motivates you to take that one more turn because of the exploration on the board, because of the interactions you're having, because of the one more aspect of find that one more thing, take that one more step, place one more map tile onto the board, have that one more fight. The push your luck element, the test and the combat, despite my complaint about the combat and the test being similar, the push your luck elements to the gameplay as far as how you can kind of just keep on rolling, increasing the hazards you take. That was a fun aspect that I really enjoyed. I thought they handled that well. The asymmetric characters as well, giving you different characters with different abilities. You can go ahead and choose different configurations as far as how you want that to be, as well as potentially, this is potentially because I haven't seen it, how the characters and things would evolve as you play through the game. This game gives you a very easy to dive into exploration game that is quick, it's fun, it's fast-paced. There is a lot here to like. As far as final thoughts, there's not a lot to cover that I haven't already said. Echobound Adventures gives you an accessible exploration game. If you are looking for something easy enough to dive into, that does seem to have a decent amount of depth, not necessarily to the mechanical aspects to it, but to the world that it is building. In that sense, it does give you a lot more to uncover and explore. I think this does a pretty good job doing so. For me, I'm going to be coming in at a 3.5 out of 5. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Hope you found this review helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.